And just for everybody to know, I am the backup linesman tonight if they can't get anybody in.
Now that I would pay money to see.
There's a whole new segment for you. Coatsy's Corner, the officiating edition.
I have refereed a game. I actually did that once.
Where?
I did a high school game because the referee didn't show up in the old Spectrum, and I did it. And I refereed the game, and I was never invited back.
Do you remember making any memorable calls, or was there anything that stood out?
I threw a kid out of the game.
A high school game.
He was acting very inappropriately, and I threw him out of the game.
Well, let's. Hey, guess what? Sometimes it's the parents that need to be thrown out of the game in those instances. I'm surprised that you didn't have to throw somebody out for your bad calls.
Well, I had the shirt on. They weren't going to get to me.
Attaboy.
Well, Coachy, you're in Denver where this is a very big game. I'd like to get your assessment of what you witnessed. You're in the building. Did you feel a deflating feeling after that first redirected goal? Because I'm watching on TV.
Against Columbus.
The Columbus game, obviously. 104, I mean, I'd love to know what the feeling was like inside that building as you're sitting there watching that game.
Deflating is a very good word. I was kind of like, here we go. And the reason I say that is that has been the Achilles heel of this hockey club this season, is these last-minute goals. And when the first one went in, and I felt so sorry for Steve Mason because he was just absolutely unbelievable in that hockey game. 52 shots on net, and then all of a sudden a redirection from the point. He couldn't have stopped that. There's just no way to be able to stop that. And you go, here they go again. And as soon as the opportunity comes, and I think that this is something that they've got to rectify, is that they can't allow the shot from the outside. That's where they're getting themselves in trouble. I think they've got to maybe change it around a little bit, be a little bit more aggressive with getting to the shooter, because it's happened so many times. I think it's 6 times now that's happened this season.
Steve Coates with us. Coatesy, Gil and I were talking at the top of the show about the tying goal, and I was trying to diagram for him. He's like, we're on the radio. People can't see what you're writing. But I was trying to describe how the Blue Jackets had 3 guys below the face-off circles. Basically 3 against Mason. On that tying goal, he really had no chance. His own guys left him hanging out to dry.
Well, what happened was that the shot came from the top of the circle to the right of Mason. He made the initial save. And then Atkinson, who was a right-hand shot, he's basically not even straggling, a little bit this side of the goal line to the right of Mason, and the puck comes right onto his stick as a right-hand shot. He's looking at the play. He's right there, Johnny on the spot. And Gudas got tied up a little bit higher than that and couldn't get to him. And they had everybody, you got the extra man. You're going to outnumber them below the circles, and that's what happened.
Steve Coates with us here. He'll call the game, and, of course, all right, here's the thing. You mentioned Mason. He played about as good as a game as you can play. We know Neuber's out. We talk about each week who's the guy. Do you think Mason has to play all 10 games now, including 3 back-to-backs? Or are we going to see Anthony Stolarz make his NHL debut in maybe the most pressure cooker of a situation?
That's a very good question. I think you're going to see Stolarz. Eventually you're going to see Stolarz. Is it going to be tonight? That's a big question right now. I don't think you pull the goalie at this point in time as far as, you're playing a big game. And you mentioned big game. Every game right now for this hockey club is big. Every day is a new day. And it's not a matter of the Red Wings. It's not a matter of the Islanders. It's anybody right now. The Bruins aren't too far ahead. They're only 3 points ahead. And the Flyers have 2 games in hand. So there's a lot of different scenarios going on right now. So I'd be shocked if they didn't come back with Mason tonight. I'd be absolutely shocked. He deserves it. It's not that the loss had nothing to do with him. And the other night, he was spectacular, and I don't see him changing right now. But you will see Stolarz eventually.
Flyers and Avalanche tonight in Denver from the Pepsi Center. Coach, these 2 teams basically find themselves in nearly identical spots. You were talking about every game being a big game. This game's as big for the Avalanche tonight as it is for the Flyers.
Yeah, and you know what? They got this Colorado team, they got Flyers tonight. They've also got the Nashville Predators twice. They have Anaheim, Minnesota, and they have St. Louis twice. That is not a very pretty schedule for this hockey club. So, yeah, they don't face a team that's not in the playoff run at all right now. Flyers are the closest to it, being right on the edge. So, and on top of that, they're missing Duchesne and McKinnon, two of their top scorers. You've got to go after them tonight.
Yeah, they've combined for 108 points. But now, see, the Avalanche took that first meeting way back in November. How do you see things breaking tonight, especially with Colorado missing those top two guys?
Well, it's like anything else. I mean, you've got to play the game. And it's one thing about Dave Haxtell. It's not about what they do. It's what we do. So I look for the team to rebound. Every time that you see something that's, a little depressing like it was the other night, this team seems to be very resilient and rebounds. And that's what I'm looking for tonight. I don't think you got to worry about Colorado. You got to worry about what the Philadelphia Flyers do.
That's an excellent point. If you mentioned, so they had a dud against Pittsburgh, well, then they came back and played better the next game. Obviously, an awful finish against Columbus. You're hoping that they play a little bit better tonight. Let's talk about Jake Voracek, Coatsy, who's been somewhat quiet in his first 3 games back from injury. But what are you seeing out of Jake now, and that lets you know that he's finding his form again?
Well, I would think that Jake would be back to where he should be now. It takes different players different times to be able to get back into what we call game shape. Everybody's in shape. The game shape's a little bit of different.
Not us two.
And I also, pardon?
Not us two.
Round is a shape.
Yeah, no, you and I, if we get up, we're in shape. But
we didn't mean to interrupt your flow.
No. But I just think that when you take a look at Jake, he's playing the line with Cousins and Reed. I don't think Reed played very well the other night. I think Cousins is the type of guy you'd like to play with as a center because he sees the ice really, really well. He's got a real good hockey IQ, and I think it's just eventually going to prove that Jake's going to be all right playing on that wing. They took him off the power play the other day. That number 1 power play is not functioning right now very well. So they took him off that power play the other night for a couple of shifts, and I think he'll be back there tonight. I think sooner or later it's got to break through. It's out of rhythm, but it'll get back into rhythm sooner or later.
All right, Flyers tonight taking on the Colorado Avalanche. Other important games, the Red Wings host Montreal. A Habs win would be great out there. And the Bruins, who, of course, played and lost last night, they're back at a back-to-back. A lot of back-to-backers. The Flyers still have 3 more back-to-backs. The schedule maker is not kind down the stretch for all these playoff possible teams. Steve Coates will call the action, of course, with Tim Saunders on the Flyers Radio Network, and that is against the Colorado Avalanche. Puck drops at 9. Coatsy, enjoy the snow.
The snow's, it's a nice day here today, but there was about 1.5 feet here yesterday. It was a blizzard. No 2 ways about it.